Hello, this is Paul Speciale. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Scality. We're a provider of data storage solutions for enterprises and service providers. In this HelpNet security video, I'll be talking about why IT decision makers embrace data sovereignty strategies. My focus will be the results of a survey we recently conducted in collaboration with Vanson Bourne. This survey looked at data sovereignty in enterprise corporations in 4 countries: the US, the UK, France, and Germany. Now, many of you already know about this concept of sovereignty and the requirements in various global geographies and countries that pertain to rules that have been put in place to protect data. Ultimately, this is really all about the desire and the need for technology independence by regions, countries, and industries. So independence is meant to ensure that entities remain competitive by not being locked into or precluded access from, or even impacted by changes in technology solutions outside of their local or regional control. As a more general example, there was the recent CHIPS Act 22 from the US Congress, which is intended to drive more independence and autonomy for the US in the area of semiconductor design and manufacturing. Now, for our survey specifically, we focused on sovereignty policies to keep data in specific locations. So this is sovereignty driven by countries and industries within them. Let me start with a key top-level highlight. The vast majority of organizations in the 4 countries we surveyed already have policies in place or near-term plans to implement them. Nearly all companies in France, Germany, the UK, and the US have today or will have a plan for storing sovereign data. In fact, 80% already have such plans in place, while another 18% have plans to implement them in the future. We found that there are minimal differences between France, where 81% of respondents already have policies in place, Germany at 79%, UK at 82%, and the US at 78%. So we see very, very similar policies already in place across these countries. Notice that only 2% of respondents say they do not have sovereignty regulations or policy in place today, nor do they plan to implement them. So clearly, data sovereignty is an important item on the boardroom agenda. We also looked at industry sectors and found that across all 4 regions, organizations in the business and professional services sector are the most likely to have regulations and policies already in place. That was at 85%. Then we wanted to dive down a bit deeper. We wanted to learn where organizations are storing or planning to store data that is subject to these sovereignty concerns. Now, here we found that on average, 40% of respondents across all regions use public cloud only for data storage with sovereignty-related concerns. But notice that this was just a few percentage points ahead of another solution, hybrid cloud, which came in at 36% across all of the regions. It's very interesting to note that public cloud has really been a practical choice for many organizations for quite a bit longer than hybrid cloud, especially if you look at it in terms of technology solutions that make it easier to maintain or mirror data across these 2 different areas or locations. Now, diving down a bit more, the 4 countries were split into kind of 2 main camps. The US and France are more likely to leverage a large public cloud service, while respondents in the UK and Germany lean a bit more towards the hybrid cloud approach. For example, we found a big difference in Europe, where French respondents are more likely to select a large public cloud service at 52%, and Germans, by contrast, are least likely to select a large public cloud storage service at 32%. It's a pretty big difference. Hybrid cloud usage is also a big significant force here. Note that the use of a combined solution of on-premises data centers and public cloud storage services, what we call hybrid cloud storage, was at 36%. So this made it the second most common approach behind public cloud usage. Really a close second to the use of public cloud only. Next down, we see a notable percentage of respondents stating that they currently use or plan to use a regional cloud service provider to store sovereign data. This is significantly lower than the public and hybrid cloud respondents in our survey at 13% on average across the regions. And we also had a few regional differences, with French respondents below that average at 8%, and German respondents significantly above it, much higher at 21%. Okay? And finally, the category that received the lowest response in our survey was the use of an enterprise on-premises data center. Here we saw 11% of respondents on average across the regions stating that this was their preference. Now we can look at some of the industry sector data. Okay, organizations in the business and professional services sector beat the average, most likely to select the hybrid cloud at 44%, so quite a bit ahead of the 36%. We found that manufacturing organizations are most likely to use a large public cloud service at 46%, compared to that 40% average. IT, technology, and telecom organizations are most likely to rely on a regional cloud service provider. They were at 16%, compared to the 13% average. And organizations in retail, distribution, and transport sectors are most likely to opt for an on-premises data center. They were at 15%, compared to the 11% average. Now, what if we look at the size of the organizations? Across all 4 regions, it was larger organizations. Those that have 3,000 employees or more are most likely to select hybrid cloud. Okay, they were at 40%, compared to 30% of respondents from smaller organizations, those with 1,000 to under 3,000 employees. Okay, it's important to keep in mind that smaller organizations are more likely than larger ones to leverage the public cloud. Okay, they were at 42% versus 38%, and they were even more likely to use a regional cloud service provider, 16% versus 12%. Okay. Now, we should say that one thing we did not capture in this first survey was the trend line. In other words, is the use of cloud or hybrid cloud or regional cloud growing or shrinking? Okay, so this is something that we need to see. We know that there is an emergence of regional sovereign cloud providers occurring in Europe right now. This may indeed be in response to corporate requirements for more local options. Okay, so given all of this data, we do start to see that there's evidence that a data sovereignty approach that drives independence for organizations should really have the following characteristics in order to be embraced. Okay, number 1, it should deliver key benefits of the cloud, right? It looks like public cloud and hybrid cloud were very, very embraced. So in terms of on-demand usage and the economics of the cloud, that certainly should be one of the characteristics. Number 2, it should give users a degree of control over data location and really lock in avoidance. Thirdly, the results for hybrid cloud data shows that an indication that this kind of intelligent or balanced hybrid approach may be increasingly accepted in the future. Now, note that hybrid cloud could be the combination of on-premises data center and a regional cloud service provider, or it could be the use of an on-premises data center and a large hyperscaler cloud, the ones we all know about, Azure, Amazon, or Google. So in summary, our survey showed that data sovereignty is very much on the corporate radar screen. Nearly all organizations who responded stated that they have a solution today or will have one soon. Okay, there is evidence that public and hybrid cloud are the most popular solutions. That's pretty clear. Now, we do hope to see these trends forming more clearly over the next few years. In addition, we need more clarity in the next few years on things like what specific regulations will really drive sovereignty requirements for storage, what combination of solutions is really optimal for specific regions like Europe versus the US and for certain countries, obviously. And finally, the emergence of technology solutions that make it easier for companies to leverage the policies that they choose. So we really look forward to repeating the survey again in subsequent years to see if we can spot changes and new trends toward these more optimal strategies. But we hope that these early results of our survey are something that you can use and see value in. Thank you very much for your time.